Vercel just got hacked. Hackers are on online forums right now attempting to sell internal Vercel data, employee records, API keys, source code, and customer environment variables. If you're like me and you ship your SaaS on Vercel, you heard that and your stomach dropped a little bit. Mine did as well. So I went and checked my own exposure. And what I found is actually a useful story because it taught me something every bootstrapper building with AI right now needs to understand. Security in the AI era is not about paranoia, it's about layers. Let's talk about what happened, what to actually do about it, and the security playbook you should be rolling with today. Here's the short version. On April 19, 2026, Vercel disclosed a security incident. Attackers got into some of Vercel's internal systems. Let's take a look at how that happened and what was accessed. The entry point was not Vercel's infrastructure itself, it was actually a third-party AI tool called Context.ai, which a Vercel employee was using. The attackers compromised Context.ai's Google Workspace OAuth connection, used that to take over the employee's Google account, and from there walked into parts of Vercel's internal environment. So what did they access? Environment variables from customer projects, but specifically the ones that were not marked as sensitive. Variables that were marked as sensitive are encrypted at rest, and Vercel says those were not accessed. On a hacker forum, someone posted that they're selling the data for about $2 million. That includes internal database dumps, employee info, GitHub tokens, NPM tokens, source code fragments. Some of that is verified and some of it is real. The point for us is simple. If you've hosted anything on Vercel and you had unencrypted environment variables sitting there, treat them as potentially exposed. That's not panic, that's just making the right assumption. So now let's talk about why I'm making a whole episode about this and why it matters more now for bootstrappers building with AI than it did 2 years ago. Let's think about how this breach actually started. It didn't start with a 0-day in Vercel's servers. It started with an OAuth connection to a third-party AI tool. That is the new attack surface in the AI era. Every OAuth connection you approve, every time you click allow this AI tool to access my Google Workspace, my GitHub, my Slack, that is a new door into your stack. And we all click through those prompts rather quickly. We're bootstrappers, we move fast. We want the AI integration to work. But every one of those tokens is a credential, and if that AI tool gets compromised, the attacker all of a sudden has standing access to your account. This is the asymmetry that gets less attention than it should. AI has sped us up, but it's also enabled attackers more than ever. Reporting on this breach called it significantly accelerated by AI. That matters. We are not just building with AI, we are also being attacked by AI. So our security practices must evolve at the same speed our tooling is evolving. Okay, so here's what I did as soon as I saw this news. I logged into my Vercel account and I went to each of my environments and then I looked at each individual environment variable that I had set. And I did the thing which sounds obvious, but for the most part nobody does. I asked myself for each one, if an attacker had this value right now, what could they realistically do with it? And here's what I found. The vast majority of my Vercel environment variables were prefixed on the client side. In Next.js, that's something like next_public prefix. Those values get baked into every JavaScript bundle that ships to every user's browser, meaning anyone who loads my site can already read those values by opening DevTools. They're not secrets, they were never secrets. The attacker having them gives them pretty much nothing I didn't already give to every visitor at goclockless.com, which is my legal SaaS billing app. The other bucket was server-side value things like my database connection string, my Stripe secret key, those session signing secrets. Those definitely matter, and those need to be treated seriously. When I reviewed them, they were server-side ones that were marked sensitive, so per Vercel's disclosure, they weren't accessed, but I'm rotating them anyway, because the bootstrapper move when the rumor is, quote, maybe compromised is just to rotate. It takes a few minutes and it lets me sleep at night. If you're unfamiliar, rotating just means changing them so the old values are no longer valid. This is good practice to adopt regularly regardless. This is the insight I want every bootstrapper to internalize. There are two very different kinds of environment variables, and treating them the same is what can put your SaaS at risk. The first type are public client-side values. Things like the Stripe publishable key, your Supabase public URL, your analytics project key. These are designed to be in the browser. They're not secrets. The whole point of them is that a browser needs them to function. If someone scrapes them off your site, you haven't lost much because you are already serving these up publicly, so anyone with browser access to your site can access them if they want it, but that's by design. The second type are server-side secrets. Service role keys, database URLs with write access, API keys to third parties that you charge against, session signing secrets, payment processor secret keys. These are the crown jewels. These never belong in a client bundle, never get logged, never get pasted into a Slack channel, and if any of them are even on a platform like Vercel, they should get marked sensitive so they are encrypted at rest, which basically means once they are set, no one can access them, not even you. So stealing them wouldn't really be of much value to anyone. Knowing which bucket each variable belongs to is a 5-minute audit. Do it today. If you find a server-side key sitting unmarked, that's the one to rotate first and mark sensitive going forward. Now, here's the thing that actually saved me, and it should be in place for you too. The reason my client-side environment variables being exposed is not a disaster is because I have other layers of protection around them. The biggest one is row-level security at the database level in Supabase and Postgres. RLS policies means that even if an attacker had my public key, that's the one that's literally in the browser, they can't just run a query to read every user's data. The database itself checks who is authenticated and what rows they're allowed to see on every single query. That's defense in depth. You don't protect your app by making one wall really high. You protect it by making sure that if one wall gets climbed, there are 3 more walls behind it. Auth on the API, rate limits, RLS at the database level, security-only secrets never in the client bundles, audit logs, kill switches. Every one of those is a layer, and any bootstrapper who treats their public API key as their only line of defense is one dropped environment variable away from losing their business. Don't be that person. Build the layers. And here's the thing. Most hackers are looking for low-hanging fruit, so if you put proper protections in place, it will make what they are trying to do a counterproductive exercise for them. They'll likely move on and try to find easier targets instead. Here are 2 specific actions every one of you watching should probably do today. Step 1. Mark any server-side environment variables as sensitive. On Vercel, it's a toggle on each environment variable. When you mark it as sensitive, the value gets encrypted at rest, and remember, you will not be able to read the value back through the dashboard anymore either. Some people get weirded out by that. Don't. That's the whole point. If you can't read it through the dashboard, neither can an attacker who compromises the dashboard. You still have it in your password manager or your local .environment variable file, where it belongs. Remember, you never commit those, especially to GitHub. That's also very important. Worst case, you can always rotate it, and again, you should do this regularly anyway. Step number 2, rotate your keys on a schedule, every 3 to 6 months for normal operation, and immediately when there's an incident like this one. Rotating means generating a fresh key with your third-party service, updating in Vercel, deploying, and then revoking the old one. Yes, it's annoying, it's a few minutes per key, do it anyway. The next breach is always coming, and the question is not whether your keys leak, it's whether the keys that leak are still valid. Set a calendar reminder right now. 4 times a year, rotate. Trust me, when breaches happen, you will be happy that you have this practice in place. Let me give you an AI-era security checklist for bootstrappers. 6 items, and none of these are enterprise only. All of these are things a solo founder can do and implement this week. Number 1, audit every OAuth connection on your Google, GitHub, Slack, and every other account. Revoke anything you don't actively need. Remember, every AI tool you let into your accounts is a door that you need to actively protect or worry about. 2, mark your server-side environment variables as sensitive on Vercel or Netlify or wherever you host your front end. Default to sensitive. Only leave unmarked the stuff that is intentionally public. 3, enable RLS or row-level security on every database table that has user data. Supabase, Postgres, same idea, no exceptions. 4, rotate keys quarterly. Put it on the calendar. Rotate anyway, even if there is no breach. This is just best practice. 5, never paste real secrets into an AI chat, prompt, or commit to version control, like GitHub. I know it's tempting, but use references or placeholders instead. AI doesn't need the real key to help you write the code that uses it. 6, keep an inventory of where your secrets live. If I asked you right now to list every API key tied to your business, could you do it? If no, that's a problem. If you do have it, is it password protected? If no, to either or both of those, that's a problem. You need to fix that right away. 6 items, that's the bar. Most bootstrappers are at maybe 1 or 2. Get to 6. Okay, here's the specific plan for this week if you're running anything on Vercel or similar. Day 1, log into Vercel, go to every project, and go to the environment variables. For each one, ask yourself, is this value safe to be public? If no, mark it sensitive immediately. Day 2, go to every service where you have an API key that touches Vercel. Stripe, Supabase, your email provider, your auth provider. Generate new keys, update Vercel, and revoke the old keys. Day 3, audit your OAuth connections. Google Admin Console, GitHub organization settings, Slack connected apps, and revoke anything you don't recognize or don't use anymore. Day 4, check your RLS policies. If you're on Supabase, go into your table editor and confirm every table with user data has policies that restrict access by user ID. And day 5, write down your secret inventory, ideally on something like a password manager. Every third-party service, where the key lives, when it was last rotated, and put it somewhere you're actually revisited. That's a week worth of work spread across 5 days, and at the end of it, you've done more for your security posture than 90% of bootstrappers out there today, especially in the AI era. Here's the mindset piece. You cannot build a fortress. You don't have a security team. You don't have a compliance officer. You're probably just you and a laptop. But you also don't really need a fortress. You need reasonable layers of protection. You need to assume any one layer may eventually fail, and you need a plan for what happens when it does. That's it. A compromised client-side key should not end your business. A compromised server-side key should not end your business. A vendor breach should not end your business. Each of those is a Tuesday you lose to a rotation, not a funeral for your SaaS. If you build it that way from day one, incidents like the Vercel breach become an inconvenience, not an extinction-level event. And that's the goal. If you want private one-on-one help sorting out your security for your Bootstrap SaaS, check out my private coaching options on bootstrappersparadise.com. I'll also link to it in the description below. And if you're new to building Bootstrap SaaS in the AI era, sign up for my free email course which explains my entire process for designing and launching a successful SaaS business. I'll also include a link to that as well too. Remember, audit your environment variables today, rotate your keys this month, build layers of protection in, but most importantly, keep shipping.